1 minute. T minus 50 seconds. T minus 40 seconds. T minus 30 seconds. T minus 20 seconds. Ten, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Welcome to Joe Sports Channel. Ladies and gentlemen, and boys and girls of all ages, it is March 14th, 2024, and I hope all the wonderful, sexy pinata boonie believers all out there are having a fantastic evening on this beautiful Thursday evening in London, Ontario, Canada. Folks, you see the title. It's been over 3 months, but it feels like 3 years. RP, known as Rod Peterson, is back with some wild action around the sports world. Ladies and gentlemen, my colleague Johnny B. Good and the one and only Rod Peterson. Good afternoon, brother.
What's going on, guys?
How are you guys?
Doing good. Yeah, I was saying we were watching your show earlier today. It was great.
Oh, I appreciate that. Were you watching on television or streaming, or how did you find us?
YouTube.
Yeah, YouTube. We're streaming. Good show. Good show. Lots of good questions about hockey and that. So hoping to continue that dialogue a bit.
Rod, I want to talk about Alexander Ovechkin. And is Ovechkin still in the hunt of Wayne Gretzky all-time goal record? He needs 54. A lot of people have been asking me, Ovechkin can get it done. I believe so, but I think it's going to take 2 good seasons if the Washington Capitals can stay depth in the next couple of years. What do you think on that?
Well, I saw him play when he came through Sunrise, Florida here, and I was not impressed. And that night he was pointless. He was -1, and he didn't look engaged at all. And I've been watching him live for years. He doesn't always get engaged, but he's won every trophy there is to win. So there's that. But he's not the player that he once was. He's not at the pace, obviously. Look at the numbers. I'll say this, Joe. The way he's playing now, he's not going to catch Gretzky. I get the sense there are people within the Washington organization that aren't really happy with his play. I've heard from those around the NHL that he's not in the best physical condition, and he's 38 years of age. Like, come on, man. He's a dad. He's got a dad bod. So it looked for a while, a couple years ago, that he was on pace to do it and would. And I think I voted that he would catch Wayne. I'm sitting here now going, the way he's playing, he's not going to catch him.
Yeah.
He's 54 goals. You know, he's at right now exactly 840. 894 is the record. If he can score at least 25 goals, he has 18 goals. If he can score at least 7 before the season ends, the 3 points out of a wild card spot, there's a good possibility. Johnny, you were going to say something. Sorry for interrupting.
Yeah, no. Go ahead. I don't think he's going to hit 25. Like I said, I agree with Rod. He's not the same goal scorer he was. He's still producing. I think the Washington Capitals are struggling. I know they're still in a realistic playoff spot, but they did not look good. I was watching them against the Oilers last night. Boy, they just did not look good at all.
You're a big Panthers fan, Rod, huh?
I follow them. I go to the games. I host a podcast on them, but I don't live in. They're playing right now, and I'm talking to you. So if it was that important to me, I wouldn't have said yes. So I follow them. I wouldn't say that I'm a big fan, but they're growing on me. How about that?
Well, your Florida Panthers had a great run last season, and this year they are ranked among the top teams in the league again. What is their success after years of being a low-tier team?
Are you saying what's happened with them?
Yes, exactly.
What's made them? What's been the turnaround for them, where they were a lower tier that they've kind of elevated to a higher level?
Well, if you ask anybody around the building, which I have, that exact question, they say the owner, Vinny Viola, opened the purse strings and was willing to spend money. And, you sit and look at that as sports fans in Canada and go, well, they have a payroll of, 85 million roughly. Of course they're spending. Well, you look at Arizona, they don't spend over there, and look where they are. They didn't historically spend money here in Florida, but now they've got legitimate all-stars, and Alexander Barkov, Matthew Tkachuk, $10.5 million to Sergei Bobrovsky. They've got some serious star power on the team. So that's just what I heard. It happened before I got here. This is my third season following and covering the Panthers. Joel Quenneville actually was the head coach, guys, when I got here. So a lot has changed since then. But they won the President's Trophy 2 seasons ago. They're in line to win it this year. They've been a good team since I got here. So I just asked the guys, and they said our owner is shelling out the dough. That's the difference.
Are they going to go to the Eastern Conference Finals this year?
Who knows? They don't look good against Carolina tonight. And to be honest, I didn't think they were going to make the playoffs last year. And I sure as heck didn't think they were going to beat Boston. And I laughed when they beat Toronto. Sorry. Didn't think they're going to beat Carolina. Like, it's to sit and say, what do I think they're going to do? They always do the opposite of what I think they're going to do, to the point where I've given up on predictions because they make me look like an idiot. So as we sit here today, they're the number 1 team in the NHL. Nobody can argue that because your record is what you are. Bill Parcells said that. But somebody just asked me tonight. I was out for supper with my gang of buddies, and they said the exact same thing. They said, are the Panthers going to win the Stanley Cup? And I said, we all know the playoffs are a different animal. Things change. Injuries are a factor. Officiating is a factor. Lucky bounces. Luck is a factor. So I can't tell you. They're good enough to be there. Will they? I don't know.
Well, they're looking at the Red Wings or the Islanders right now for the first round, so that's favorable.
John?
Oh yeah. Okay. So what do you think of the recent Jay Gunsel trade after another disappointing Penguins season? How will this affect Crosby and the team moving forward?
Well, I mean, Guentzel was on the board as one of the top guys to move, so you knew he was going to be moved. There was no hint that they were going to keep him. About 3 weeks ago, maybe 2 weeks ago, we had the radio voice of the Penguins, Josh Getzoff, on our show. And they were just headed out west to play in Vancouver, in Edmonton, in Calgary. And Josh said, this upcoming week will tell us a lot about the Pittsburgh Penguins and our future. And they lost all the games. And that cued the sell-off. So they're not going anywhere. So really, it was a smart move, I think, by Kyle Dubas to get rid of those guys. Sidney's not happy. I can't blame him. He's not happy. I don't know what he thought was going to happen. The good times have been over for a while. They missed the playoffs last year. It cost Brian Burke and Ron Hextall their jobs, right? And so Guentzel went to Carolina, right? They're loading up. It's quite interesting. Carolina lost their first game that I watched after all these trades to the Rangers the other night, 1-0. But Carolina is a team that really, really, really goes under the radar. Like, I'm sitting here in Florida, and I think the Panthers can kind of go about their business and nobody knows. Carolina is a couple levels of stealth below that. So nobody's picking Carolina. And maybe because of that, this will be their year. I don't know.
I was going to say, my son is a Hurricanes fan, so he's picking them. He likes them, but yeah, they had a tough season last year. But I think they're missing that little bit of grit that Florida has. But I think they'll go far.
Yeah.
Well, I got to say, I love Florida because of Paul Maurice. Paul Maurice came from Toronto. Matt Sundin, Darcy Tucker, and all those guys, right? He took our coach and Eastern Conference Final last year. Went to the Stanley Cup Final, should have won it, but didn't. Vegas won in 5. So I'm impressed.
Well, hang on. When you say took our coach, are you referring to the Leafs or Winnipeg? Because he was in Winnipeg for 9 seasons before he got to Florida. So, and I'm enjoying following the Panthers here. I'm enjoying getting to know hockey fans and how they go about their business here, and just Americans in general. Because when they hired Paul Maurice, the Panthers, a lot of these friends of mine here were like, who is this guy? He's never won anything. Because in America, did you win or did you lose? How many rings do you have? How many championships are on your Wikipedia bio? He didn't have any. And I'm like, guys, it's not about that. He's one of the winningest coaches in the NHL, and he'll be fine. That was the summer that they hired him. And the first season, he takes him to the Stanley Cup final. So they're off his back now. But it's just interesting in Winnipeg. Look where they are, charging to potentially win the President's Trophy. They could. They're good enough. Paul's former team. So with all due respect, Joe, and I say this lovingly, nobody thinks of Paul Maurice as the former Leafs coach. Everybody thinks of him as the former Jets coach. That's what I think.
I mean, can't say nothing on that.
Oh, switching gears to football. What do you think of the new United Football League that's set to start in 2 weeks? Is it good for football fans in the offseason of the NFL?
Well, you say, what do I think of it? I don't think of it, period. I don't know. I mean, this whole spring football idea kind of made a fool out of me, because when the CFL wiped out their season in 2020 and the talk started, we were led to believe, between the XFL and the CFL, I was all on board for a merger, because I started covering the CFL in 1991, went through that U.S. expansion, and it was so much fun in the 90s in the CFL. I wanted to see it again. And then not only does it not happen, the XFL folds. So honestly, Johnny Be Good, I just learned today that there's 2 conferences in this league, and I think one's called the UFL and one's called the XFL. I mean, that's as much of it as I know. And football is number one in America, there's no doubt, but it's not going to be packing stadiums and getting big ratings. I don't know why we keep trying spring football. Like, it's literally never worked.
It's just trying to keep the NFL fans engaged. I guess there's not a lot in between other than spring training and maybe the draft coming up in April. So,
well, yeah, but hey, the NFL is fine with that. It's not like the NFL is working in concert with the UFL. The NFL could care less about the UFL. They've got the combine we just came out of. Free agency started this week, and then there's the draft. And then there's the OTAs. Like the NFL is fine. I don't think I don't think they need the UFL to keep people's interest up in football in America. But that's just me. That's my thoughts. Like I say, I followed spring football when I thought there might have been a partnership with the CFL. When that didn't happen, I haven't really been following it a lot. But here, what I think is, the more football, the better. More jobs for coaches and players. But to be honest, I'm not watching. I used to sit and watch these games. And then like last year, I sat back and said, why am I watching this? Literally, why am I? Because there's a lot of competition out there. They're playing in the spring, guys. There's a thing called the Stanley Cup playoffs. And to be honest, the Blue Jays, I'll be in on them until they're out of it, which may or may not happen. So it's a crowded sports marketplace right now. And I can't see the UFL getting a big chunk of it.
As we talk football, I'm so proud that the Pittsburgh Steelers finally picked up a decent quarterback. And I know Johnny Be Good cannot stand Russell Wilson. $1.2 million for the Pittsburgh Steelers. But he's still getting $34 million from Sean Payton, the Denver Broncos. I think this is a turnaround season for the Denver Broncos. You get rid of Mason Rudolph. Mason Rudolph goes to Tennessee. Plots to him starting job there. But I think this is the position Mike Tomlin needs, Mr. Russell Wilson. I think the Pittsburgh Steelers can easily win a couple games in the playoffs. You got Pickens, you got Tomlin, you got rid of Matt Canada last year, defensive coordinator. I think this is a team to watch out for the near future. Derrick Henry went to Baltimore. That whole division is going to be tough with Cleveland, Baltimore, Pittsburgh. I'm impressed, and I'm excited to see Wilson. Are you happy, Rod, that Russell Wilson is back as a starting position quarterback?
I just think it's a good story. If you're following the lineage and what goes on, he was booed in Seattle when he left, which I don't like. My dad taught me, cheer as loud as you want for your own team, but don't boo the opposition, or certainly not a former player. I had Seattle fans tell me, stay out of it. It's between us. I'm like, okay, it was an ugly exit. That's usually what happens. He goes to Denver. It wasn't good. He didn't have good coaching there under Nathaniel Hackett. And they bring in Sean Payton. And from what I've read and heard, they were like oil and water, Russell Wilson and Sean Payton. So they move on. And Russell's looking. So my point is, Russell's looking for a comeback year. I like those. It worked for Tom Brady. It's a hell of a season. Hell of a story going into this season. You look at the Steelers in Pittsburgh. Ben Roethlisberger, they haven't been able to replace him. They've had a lot of quarterbacks go through there. And I was just reading today, the template in the NFL is bring in a young quarterback, throw him into the Wolves, and hope to survive, and then go pay $45 million for a Patrick Mahomes type or a Dak Prescott or whatever. I'm like, well, Brock Purdy was on his first contract. He led the 49ers to the Super Bowl. So there's no template for how to do this or be a copycat league. Pittsburgh's hoping to catch lightning in a bottle. Russell Wilson is old. I think he pointed out it's a 1-year contract for 1.2. This is a can't lose situation, like the Panthers getting Vladimir Tarasenko at the trade deadline. Whatever. If it works, it's a bonus. If it doesn't, what are we out? That's how I see it.
You're going to say something, John?
No, I agree with them. Like I said, it's not that I have nothing. You always think I have a personal vendetta being a 49ers fan against Russell. It's nothing against Russell. I just watched him over the years. He was phenomenal in Seattle. I've just seen him decline. And again, maybe it was the coaching. I know it was the environment. He didn't have the team around him in Denver. But I just don't see well. And Mason Rudolph got the Steelers to the playoffs. And then you kick him out the door. So I don't know. I just didn't like how things unfolded personally, with the Steelers. But we'll see how it goes. Like Rod said, it could work, might not work. I don't know. I'm just happy with my 49ers and where we're going. So.
Well, I'm impressed with my Packers, but at the same time, I'm disappointed getting rid of Aaron Jones, one of the best running backs in the league, releasing him, But we go pick up Josh Jacobs, but I'll still take Aaron Jones any day from any running back because Aaron Jones is a guy that you can rely on. Josh Jacobs, he was on the Raiders. We don't know how he's going to be, with Matt LaFleur and the Green Bay Packers. So I was kind of disappointed with that trade. But, our GM is terrible. It's always been terrible. You go get rid of Aaron Rodgers, goes to New York, gets injured. We had to trust in our rookie Jordan Love, and you know what? He paid off. Unfortunately in San Francisco we lost. We could have went all the way, but at the same time, we don't treat our players right in Wisconsin. It's been like that for years and decades, and I bet you Rod will agree with me. If he doesn't, I'll be pretty surprised.
If he doesn't, what?
I'm saying Green Bay fans, and especially the organization, they don't treat their players as right as any organization should.
It doesn't look like they do, for sure. It's just, listen, you're an Aaron Rodgers fan. You're an Aaron Rodgers guy.
I am.
Yeah. Well, that's fine. But I'm kind of done with Aaron Rodgers because I know how old you are, Joe. You may or may not remember the torch being passed from Aaron Rodgers to Brett Favre wasn't particularly a nice situation there either. And Aaron Rodgers conveniently forgot 17 years later the exact same thing happened to him with Jordan Love. And all he's done is whine and cry about it. So that's one thing. And then he goes to New York, and he gets hurt 4 plays in. I didn't like to see that story. I would have loved to have seen him do something with the Jets, and maybe he will this year. But now he's getting into politics, and he's complaining about all the backlash he got on his anti-vaccination stance. You can do whatever you want in this world. It's a free country. But you got to live with the consequences of what you do. And to listen to Aaron Rodgers bitch on the Pat McAfee show about becoming – well, basically made himself a victim. I lost so many friends. I lost sponsors over this. It's your own fault. You made that choice. And now he's going to run in politics. I'm like, I don't like the shut up and dribble phrase or shut up and play football, but I feel like saying shut up and play football because you're losing me every time you open your mouth.
Listen, I don't think Aaron Rodgers will ever be a politician, but I think he likes to get people going. He's good at that. He's one of those guys that will get under your skin no matter what. And I'm telling you, man, try to get Rodgers on your show. You should try. You might dislike him, but
you got to pay him.
Pay him a few $100, a few $1,000.
Are you going to pay for it?
I was going to say, Joe.
If I had the money, I would. If I had the money right now, I would. Both of us can interview him. I like our Aaron. I like how he is. He says how it is, and everybody has their own opinion at the end of the day. But he's a great quarterback. He is the GOAT. In Green Bay, him and Favre. Before that, Vince Lombardi. You want to go back before Vince Lombardi? Then we're talking 60s and 70s. Two dynasty quarterbacks that were in Green Bay, won both Super Bowls. The Vince Lombardi Trophy. I got to say, I'm proud to be a Packers fan still. My final question. You've had many personal challenges over the years, and we're so proud to see you overcome them, Rod. You have a wonderful family, a beautiful family, and I'm curious, what are some of the types of joys in life you love doing these days?
Well, it's nice of you to ask, and thanks for those nice things. It's funny you would say that because a guy got into recovery last night, mental health, not substance abuse, but he just said to me, he goes, I look at you and I know what you've been through. And at the end of every day, you're smiling. He goes, I want that. Can you teach me how to do that? And I said, well, it's taken a lot of years in mental training to get there. I've overcome addiction, firings, divorce, death. You'd think I was a pretty attracting bad luck. I kind of look at it and go, everybody goes through, and I know for a fact, everybody goes through tough times in life. But what I've been told through my coaches here in Florida is that you went through those things to turn around and pay it forward and help other people. So I guess to answer your question, Joe, what's beautiful about it is that the tough times are over. And I'm sitting in this beautiful place. Told you I was out for supper with buddies tonight, and the guys were saying how, they were walking their dog today going, what a beautiful day, which I understand you had that in Ontario too. But it's just to be alive every morning, to open your eyes is a gift. And to be honest, I interviewed the head coach and general manager of the Humboldt Broncos today, Scott Barney, who I didn't know at all before the Humboldt crash on April 6, 2018. He's become a very dear, close friend of mine. And I help people get through the grief of that, whether it be victims' families. It's helping people. That's what's beautiful in my life right now. And all I've ever wanted to do, man, was cover and talk about the NHL. It's all I ever wanted to do. And I'm finally doing it in Florida. I'm like, was it that much to ask? At 51, I'm doing this and started this show, and that's all I ever wanted. So what more is there?
That's a blessing, man. Especially your lifestyle. You wake up every day, you have a show, you go to the gym, you work out. Is there something better than that? I don't think so. I think the best job is broadcasting, and what you do, man, on a daily basis, talk to your supporters, go to the gym, you work out, you talk to all your friends and family. There's nothing better than that. Seriously.
There isn't, but I just got to remind you, and I appreciate you for following, but it was 20 years in the Western Hockey League, 20 years in the Canadian Football League concurrent, racking up literal millions, bus miles, air miles, working year round, never having a weekend off. Do you know what I mean? That's what it took to get here. Because I see people looking at, me broadcasting from a pirate ship, doing my show at West Edmonton Mall, and they're like, I'd like to broadcast from a pirate ship. Well, you don't start there, and I have a lot of people saying, well, I'd like to go to the Florida Panthers games and sit in the press box and interview Matthew Tkachuk after. Well, you don't start there, right? So it's a lot of years of climbing the mountain. And that's what this guy said to me last night, starting his recovery journey, because I feel like I'm standing at the bottom of a really high mountain. And I said, well, there's only one way to climb it. One step at a time, right? Nobody's leaping a mountain.
You still follow the Saskatchewan Roughriders?
A little bit.
Yeah.
It's funny you say that.
What?
It's funny you say that because my brother was asking me the other day, why do you need an education to be a broadcaster? Just people talk sports. I said, you got to know what you talk about. There's so many challenges out there. Well, you don't need an education. Of course you need education. 30 years ago, 40 years ago, may have been a lot easier. But now you see people jumping in and out of broadcasting.
Well,
one thing and the other.
You both ask the question at the same time. I'll answer them both. Number one, with the Rough Riders, I follow them about as much as being a fan. Okay, I get a real kick out of this because I often say when people say that, "Are you a Rider fan? Have you ever been fired?" If they say yes, do you cheer for the place that fired you? No. Why would I? So that's A. And then B, as far as broadcasting, I think about this a lot because I think it is important that you go to school for a variety of reasons. Number one, the friendships you make. But number two, I went to Mount Royal College in Calgary. It's now Mount Royal University. And what I learned in a diction class, now these days in broadcasting, it doesn't matter. You don't need to have a good voice. You don't need to speak clearly. You don't need to be good. So maybe I don't know what I'm talking about. But where I learned to enunciate and speak from my diaphragm, not my nose, that all came from school. That used to matter in broadcasting. I don't know if it still does anymore or not.
Well, he's certainly great inspiration for Joe, who's a young man coming up in the broadcasting world. So we appreciate everything that you're saying.
Well, he gets it, but it's not just about. There's a lot of guys that know sports, and there's a lot of guys that sit around a bar, and girls too, and talk sports. There's a lot of them, but can you be entertaining? Can you hold an audience? Because there's a lot of guys talking a lot. I was sitting in a marketing office here with a company in Boca Raton, Florida, almost a year ago now. And they said, what sets your show apart, Rod? There's millions of sports talk shows. There's millions of them. What sets yours apart? He'd never watched it. And I was kind of getting angry. And I'm like, watch it. What sets us apart is the host. No other show has me. And then he kind of broke into laughing. Well, we do it different than everybody else. But you kind of got to watch it to what makes McDonald's different than all those fast food restaurants out there. Or you say, Joe, you see me in the gym. I used to sit and complain and moan about the competition in our space. There's I heard there's 2 million podcasts in North America. I think there might actually be 2 million sports podcasts, let alone cooking and pets and mechanics and God knows what else. Like, I felt like that's the most competitive. But here in Florida, there's not only a gym on every block, there's 2 gyms on every block. What makes your gym different than the next guy? It's the work to set yourself apart. It's an art, that I dedicated my life to, in some ways to a detriment. But I just kind of said, I'm at this stage of the game, I'm going to do what I want, not what everybody else wants me to do. And that's why I've never been happier.
Just continue on your job, man.
Thank you.
What did you say, John?
No, I was just saying you had a great show, and me and you were watching this afternoon. You were talking about the Winnipeg Jets and kind of what's going wrong with them. But it was interesting. So again, you held the audience, you captured us. We were intrigued and inspired, I guess, by what you do.
Thank you, bud. I appreciate that. Thanks for watching.
As we end the show, I have a request for you, Rod.
Sure, everybody does.
But my request is, I don't think I've ever asked you this. Would it be mine, because I have all these broadcasters, a picture of you signed and sent to me in a mail?
Oh, of course.
Yeah. You
need some firewood or what?
I do. No, I just want a nice picture of you smiling, from Rod to Joe Booney, whatever you can say.
Need to fill his blank background.
Sure, Joe. Absolutely.
I would appreciate it very much.
You got to send me your address.
I will. Don't share it to anybody, especially Clark Monroe. That guy, it's another whole story.
I won't.
Rod, it's always a pleasure, my friend.
Good seeing you guys. It was fun.
Keep doing your stuff, man. We support you, and I'll look forward to maybe come out to Florida, or if you're ever here in Canada, I'll come out and see you, and we can go for dinner.
Sounds good. We'll be here. Nice meeting you, Johnny. Be good.
Yeah, likewise. I was in Boca Raton last year. Wish I knew you were there. I would have stopped by.
Isn't it beautiful?
It is. Oh, loved it, man. I said I didn't want to go home. Beautiful, palmy weather. It was nice. Yeah. Like you said, you're living the time of your life right now. Enjoy it, my friend. You've earned it.
Yeah. Thanks, guys.
Take care, buddy. What a great guy. And that's why I love bringing it on the show. We don't even have to put the questions out there. We don't. Just for a guy to sit and explain everything. And then, that final question that you actually brought up, that I actually said to the viewers, and especially him, about his family. And as I listen to him, I can feel what he's gone through, so that's very, very nice of Rod. take the
Definitely
time.
inspiring. I mean, we all go, like you said, we all go through stuff in life. It's how we get through those tough times, and have a lot of respect for them. Like you said, hey, everybody would love to be a broadcaster, but you don't just jump in and hey, you're interviewing, Keith Tkachuk, and it takes time, and again, like going to school. So there is a path for those that want to follow in those footsteps.
Yeah. And you know what? I love broadcasting. I know I'm good at it. I don't think I know I'm great at it. It just needs a lot more time, practice, and education. And education is very important these days. Maybe 40 years ago, the NFL never had an education to go to school. Well, we had a lot of concussions. Look at Muhammad Ali. He died at a very young age. So what I do, I'm fortunate. What I do, I'm thankful. What I do, I'm blessed to speak to guys like this that encourage me to keep going, to have guys like the Toronto Maple Leafs announcer, Jack Armstrong, the announcer for the Toronto Raptors, Rod Peterson from the RP show on Game Plus Television, Johnny Be Good, you sticking with me, you got a crazy family, you got to run here and there, but for you to come on and, support me and be my colleague, it's a blessing. And that's why I put this backdrop picture, because I feel like I'm in the sky and the water's there, and the water's always there. And I'm blessed to have people like you, John. And thank you for being the colleague, like I always say.
I appreciate it. And shout out to Tino, your other co-host, who's went through surgery. I know a lot of people were asking how he's doing. So you have some words on that, maybe? I'm not sure how he came through.
Well, our good friend Tino D'Antonio, and as I read this message, where is it? Let's go to Tino. So I wrote, how did the surgery go? Are you okay, buddy? Took some painkillers and resting now, Joe. As I say, okay, brother, I'm glad you made it home. How is Tino feeling? Never respond to me, but Tino D'Antonio is in good spirits, and we look forward to having him on the show in the near future. But for now, you got another Italian, and his name is Johnny Be Good. And I'll tell you, man, he knows that be good, because he cannot stand Russell Wilson and the Pittsburgh Steelers. Now, I'll tell you that.
Nothing personal. I'm just saying, you're praising the Steelers. I'm feeling bad for the Steelers because they don't know what's coming yet. I do.
Well, you heard what Rod said. He liked that move. Sean Payton was hot and water with him. It was Sean Payton and Russell Wilson. It was like stepmom and son, just not on the same page, right? So we'll see.
Exactly. Yeah. No, we'll see. So I hope I'm wrong. I hope the Steelers have a phenomenal season and make the playoffs again. But I personally don't see it. That's just my take.
We'll see. That's Johnny Be Good for you. And this is Joe Booney. And we'll see you on Saturday at 10:30 p.m. Eastern time. Take care, guys. Stay safe. RP show is back on the Joe Sports Channel.
All right.
Thank you guys very much. And have a blessed Thursday evening.